Have you ever wondered why we sometimes just refuse to see what's right in front of us? Or maybe why you suddenly get mad at someone and you can't even explain why? Well, the answer might just be in our mind's secret shields. These are these amazing automatic tools, first described by Sigmund Freud, that our brains use to protect us from feeling overwhelmed. So let's dive into the fascinating world of our own inner defenses.
Okay, here's our game plan. First, we'll cover the basic idea of these mental guards. Then, we're going to break them down into three main categories: how we hide from the truth, how we redirect our feelings, and, my favorite, how we literally rewrite the story. And finally, we'll talk about why any of this actually matters to you.
So what are we really talking about here? I want you to imagine your mind has this elite security team that's on duty 24/7. Now, their job isn't to protect you from, a physical threat, but from emotional ones, like distress, anxiety, or shame. These are what we call Freudian defense mechanisms. And here's the kicker. They operate completely unconsciously. Most of the time, we have no idea we're even using them.
Let's jump into our first group. These mechanisms are probably the most straightforward. Basically, when a reality is just way too painful to deal with, the mind, well, it just puts up a wall and pretends it can't see it.
First up, we've got denial. You've definitely heard of this one. It's basically the motivated forgetting of a distressing external experience. This is your mind just going, nope, that did not happen, when it's faced with some fact or event in the outside world that's just too much to handle.
This example it shows you the sheer power of denial. In the face of grief that is absolutely unbearable, a mother's mind might just create a temporary, alternate reality where her child is still there. It's like this primal shield that gives her a little bit of time to process the trauma without being completely shattered.
Now, this might look a lot like denial, but there's a really important difference. Repression is all about forgetting threatening memories or impulses that come from inside of us. So while denial says that thing outside didn't happen, repression pushes down an internal thing, a painful memory, a forbidden thought, you name it.
Think about a soldier who experiences something truly horrific in combat. They might come home and have absolutely no conscious memory of that specific terrible event. It's not that they're choosing to forget. Their mind has literally taken that traumatic memory and locked it deep in the unconscious to protect them from having to relive it. All right, so sometimes the mind just hides the truth. But what happens when a feeling is just too big to ignore? Well, in this next chapter, we're going to see how the mind can take that powerful emotion and just cleverly point it somewhere else at a much safer target.
And that brings us to displacement. You've heard the phrase kicking the dog, right? Well, that is displacement in a nutshell. You have a horrible day at work, your boss makes you furious, but you can't yell at your boss, right? You'd get fired. So you come home and you snap at your partner, or get angry about something tiny. You've just displaced that anger.
What's really interesting here is that displacement isn't always a bad thing. It can actually be pretty healthy. Instead of taking out your frustration on another person, you can channel all that energy into a really intense workout. The target is changed from something unacceptable to something that's actually productive.
Okay, next up is projection, and this one is wild. It's this incredible trick where the mind takes a quality we really don't like about ourselves, and instead of admitting we have it, we start seeing it in other people. It's almost like your mind is a movie projector, and it's casting your own flaws onto everybody around you.
This is the absolute classic example. Someone who is struggling with their own thoughts about being unfaithful might become intensely, ridiculously suspicious of their partner, accusing them of cheating when they've done nothing wrong. They are literally projecting their own unacceptable feelings onto someone else so they don't have to face them.
Now, sublimation. This one is often called the most mature, the most healthy of all the defense mechanisms. It's the process of taking a raw, socially unacceptable impulse, like aggression, and completely transforming it into something that's not just okay, but is actually admired by society.
This is just a perfect illustration. That raw impulse to be aggressive, which was a really negative thing when he was a kid, gets channeled through incredible discipline and training and becomes the drive of a champion athlete. The core energy is the same, but how it's expressed is transformed into something positive.
So, we've hidden from the truth, we've redirected our feelings. Our final category is probably the most creative one of all. In these cases, the mind basically becomes a screenwriter, and it actively changes the entire narrative of a situation to make it less of a threat to our ego.
First up in this group is rationalization. You can think of this as just really sophisticated excuse-making.
When something happens that makes us feel bad or look foolish, our brain swoops in with a perfectly logical-sounding reason why it was actually a good thing.
I mean, how many times have we heard this one? The sting of being fired is instantly softened by rewriting the story. It wasn't a failure, oh no, it was a lucky escape from a job you secretly hated all along. It's all about protecting the ego. Intellectualization. This is the mind's way of dealing with a really hot, messy, emotional situation by putting on a cold, clinical lab coat. Instead of actually feeling the pain or the chaos, you take a step back and you just analyze it, like it's some abstract academic problem.
Right here, instead of dealing with the profound personal feeling of betrayal, the woman shifts her focus to this abstract, impersonal theory about men. By turning her own personal crisis into a kind of academic case study, she builds a buffer between her and the raw emotion.
Okay, this one is a true mind-bender. With reaction formation, your brain takes an unconscious feeling that's causing you anxiety, and it deals with it by grabbing onto the complete opposite and expressing that instead, usually in a really over-the-top way. This is a fantastic example. The attraction to a coworker is threatening, right? It goes against their values or their marriage vows. So the mind does a complete 180. That dangerous feeling of, wow, I really like them, is unconsciously flipped into the much safer, more socially acceptable feeling of, oh, I can't stand that person.
Phew. Okay, we have covered 8 really complex ways our minds protect us, from just plain old denial all the way to completely rewriting reality. So now we get to the big question. What do we do with all this? Why does any of this matter?
Look, learning about this stuff isn't about diagnosing your friends or judging yourself. It's about gaining the power of self-awareness. Because while these shields can definitely help us in the short term, if we rely on them too much, they can stop us from actually dealing with our problems. Recognizing these patterns in ourselves and in others is the first step toward empathy, personal growth, and ultimately finding healthier ways to cope with life. So I'll leave you with this thought. Every single one of us uses these shields. It's just part of being human. The real question is, now that you know what to look for, can you start to notice them in action? Which one of these secret shields does your mind reach for when things get tough?